So wouldn't you rather have people spend their time engaging with people who are ready to engage? If we could somehow eliminate all of the spam and all of the phishing attempts automatically, how amazing would that be? Welcome back to the Digital Ministry Podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and today I want to talk a little bit about OpenAI's Operator. So this has been out for a long time, but as I'm listening to what's going on in the AI space, and I consume a lot of podcasts, a lot of people have gone back and forth on this. We're coming up on halfway through the year, and at the beginning of the year, people were saying, "Oh, this is going to be the year of AI, and this is going to be the year of agentic AI." So if you've heard that and you're wondering about, like, what does this mean? This is something that we've been talking a lot about at MII recently. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about AI agents and what that could mean for your ministry or for your organization. So for those that aren't familiar, the idea of an AI agent is kind of a step beyond where most people start with AI. AI is in the news again this week with Google. Google released some updates that said that they had lost a significant share of search recently, and they're saying that this is due to people using AI tools to conduct searches rather than going to the traditional, google.com and doing a web search or searching in the browser. And that's where most people start with AI. You can use a tool like ChatGPT. Google has Gemini, Claude, Grok.ai, which is coming out of the former Twitter, X.com. So these are all kind of AI tools that people have been using. You probably have used some of these or all of them, and it's a great entry point for using artificial intelligence. What most people are doing right now, I would say, over 80% of use cases are using AI tools to conduct searches. So it's like a search replacement. And we're seeing Google's stock price drop because they're being really kind of threatened by this. I think the market share or the mind share for search is being disrupted by the use of AI. Now, if you think about doing a search on AI or doing some kind of deep research, how I use it a lot right now is I'll take a report. So I'll get some kind of like industry report. Barna publishes some study or something, and you usually get these PDF downloads that have dozens of pages. And it's like, oh, there's a lot of content here. I want to consume it quickly. So I'll dump it into AI and I'll say, give me, a summary of this in one page. Give me an executive summary on what this report is discussing and highlight some of the key points. And then I might even go a step further and say, okay, here's some information about my business or my organization. Reference this report and tell me how I might be able to use this information in my business. So this is kind of like a research function, and I'm doing all the work. Agentic AI is a step beyond that. So this is where these AI tools will create an agent that operates on your behalf. And so you can tell the agent, maybe look at this website or, this space, this industry, and all of the reports that get published in the next 30 days, every week, create a summary for me of news that's coming out about this industry, and then send me a notification where I can go in and read a one-page executive summary on whatever happened this week. This is actually something that I'm using with the Digital Ministry Podcast, just to kind of consume a lot of information, because there's so much stuff that's coming out about AI and even digital ministry week to week, where I used OpenAI's ChatGPT operator to create this task. And so this agent goes out and it kind of scours the web and it looks at what's being published, in the last 7 days. And then every day on Thursday, it sends me a report. It's a one-page executive summary of everything that happened this week in the digital ministry space. So this is like a great use case for using an agent. I recently was presenting on behalf of MII, and I shared with the audience how agents can be used. So we talked about this use case that I just described, but I also did something that I was fascinated by. So I'm going to if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening and you don't have the video view up, I'd encourage you to go check this out on the YouTube link, because I'm going to share a video that shows, let me get the screen share up here, that shows an example of how I used OpenAI's operator feature in ChatGPT recently. So what you see here is a browser window that shows operator.chatgpt.com. So this is the operator tool, and this is an AI agent. And I went in there and I connected it to MII's Facebook page, which was very interesting. I didn't know if this was possible or not, but so the agent opens a new window and I had to log in. And the interesting thing about this is I have to watch its actions the whole time. So it's not yet to the point where it will do kind of deep work or for us without you kind of monitoring it and watching it in real time. So what I did here was I went to the messages tab. Now, a common problem with something like Facebook messages is you get a lot of spam. When you're doing digital ministry and you are, maybe promoting an ad campaign or you're trying to reach a large number of people, you'll get messages if you're asking people to message you. So in this case, our call to action was, send us a message. And the agent went out and it said, hey, it looks like this message appears to be an urgent notice about the Meta account, but it contains a link and mentions potential policy violations. It looks suspicious and it could be a phishing attempt. How would you like to proceed? So I thought this was very interesting. So it's not only like logging into Messenger and beginning to work through the inbox, but it's flagging this. And I didn't ask it to go out and find spam messages, but it right off the bat said, this one looks pretty suspicious. What do you want to do with it? So my response was delete any message that appears to be a phishing attempt. And it's asking for some safety checks. It's wanting me to make sure that I understand this is potentially a suspicious link. And it doesn't want to take any action without me giving it explicit authority for that action, especially in this messenger type of environment, because it understands, and I didn't prompt it with any of this, but operator understands that it's acting on my behalf with other people in Facebook Messenger. I didn't think this was possible, and I've read some things about OpenAI where it says like it won't allow this kind of activity, but clearly, I mean, you can see on the video here that it's doing that. So it says back to me, I found the option to delete. How should I proceed? And I said, yes, delete the conversation. And so it goes on and it says, okay, it's confirming. There's a dialog box that's asking me to confirm that it wants me to delete this message. So there's like 3 checks that I had to go through here, maybe more, to confirm the action. Yes, I want you to do this. Yes, I want you to do this. Yes, I want you to do this. So I said it 3 times and it says, okay, done. And so it deletes the message. Eventually, where I got to with this little experiment was it began working through the whole inbox and says, hey, I found another one. It matches this same profile, has a suspicious link. And again, this is a really common thing for your follow-up teams. So if you think about follow-up, the limited variable with follow-up is the human resource. It's the people time. And up until now, we've had follow-up teams that go through all of these inboxes manually, one by one, click on a message, read it, evaluate it, hope that your follow-up person recognizes this as a potentially suspicious phishing link. But the follow-up team member is kind of doing all this work to think like, okay, let me evaluate this message. Should I respond? Should I not respond? Is this a delete? Do I flag it for spam? How do I manage the inbox? And, we have all for years lived our lives with inbox management. I have to do this in my day-to-day in my own personal email as well. There's a lot of sorting that I do. On a Monday morning, you get into the office and you see, okay, what messages did I get over the weekend? There's about 40 of them that are just junk. And so I go through and I select all those and delete them. And then I can get started with the real work. Well, if you add all that up across all of the people doing follow-up on your teams, that represents a significant amount of time where people are just kind of filtering. It's just a manual filter. Have people spend their time engaging with people who are ready to engage. If we could somehow eliminate all of the spam and all of the phishing attempts automatically, how amazing would that be? Then you could maximize your follow-up team's time to only focus on the conversations that are valuable, that are meaningful, and that represent people that are ready to engage in some type of spiritual or meaningful conversation. So, operator continues to go through the inbox here. And it says, and I told it again, yes, you are free to delete any suspicious message in this inbox. And very quickly, it caught on to what I was asking it to do. Again, after several prompts and confirmations. And what eventually happened here was out of, the thousands of messages in this inbox, it went through the entire inbox and just automatically deleted anything that was matched this suspicious phishing type of profile. And in this case, kind of the key marker was that it included a suspicious link. And that the amount of time that represents, the time saved that represents, I don't think can be understated. When I was at Christian Vision, we built a similar tool, which cost us tens of thousands of dollars in development time, server costs, machine learning programs that we developed to kind of do this very thing automatically. We called it response grading. We would go through and we eventually train the system to understand, like, is this a good response or a bad response? And if it was a bad response, we didn't delete them, but we just kind of siloed them. And so the idea was that the limited number of people that were doing follow-up, their time was completely maximized around the follow-up activities, so that any engagement that they were doing was meaningful. It was with a real person. And what really made that possible was this type of analysis that we're seeing operator do here on the screen, where it was an evaluation of all of the inbound messages and then really just removing those from our field of view so that they can be ignored, they can be deleted. We don't have to deal with them anymore. I think this represents a really big and important step forward in the use of AI for digital ministries. If we can deploy agents to do some of this type of response grading and do that automatically, we can maximize the time of our people, which is incredibly valuable, volunteer or paid, well, like whatever your situation is. This is an incredibly valuable resource to help to maximize people's time on ministry rather than dealing with a lot of the garbage that happens to come in through some of these messages. I think next steps for this, something that we're going to be testing in MII, is going beyond like the phishing attempts and really getting into some use cases where we can begin evaluating the quality of a response and take it a step further. So kind of the first cut would be to eliminate all the spam and phishing. The second cut would be to really begin to understand what's the likelihood that this conversation is going to progress to a meaningful place. Now that gets a lot trickier, and it's even more complicated when trying to train an agent to do that. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of hand holding and a lot of prompt engineering, helping the AI understand what is the intent of my request, what does good look like, what does bad look like, in terms of success rates. Probably, and we dealt with this in the past when I built these tools in a custom way as well. You get a lot of like false negatives, which you have to be careful of. So one of the things that we did to guard against that was we would go do a manual review once a month. We would look through, and you can have like a single person do this. So instead of your whole team dealing with spam and all the filtering, you just have a single person take one day a month, 4 to 6 hours worth of time, review all of those messages that got dumped and see if there's any false negatives. So this means maybe the system deleted or filtered out a message that shouldn't have been filtered out. But even doing that process kind of goes back and informs the tool, whatever tool you're using. It informs it what good and bad looks like. And so it gets smarter and gets better over time. As CV, it took about 4 months with the tools that we were using at that time. And I would expect that today with some of these AI enablements, that would happen even faster. But after about 4 months of doing this, it was very, very good, like 95% success rate plus. And frankly, when I've got a limited number of people that are trying to spend all their time doing, follow-up type of activities, 95% success rate was great for us. I mean, that was a really big win. And so just as you continue to watch the AI landscape and you hear people talking about agentic AI, I think we're going to see in the second half of this year, we're going to see a lot more agents, a lot more tools being released that function like an agent. I would encourage you to spend some time really trying to understand this landscape, understand what's possible, what's not possible, but then really think about how do you deploy an agent in order to take care of some of these really menial tasks that are frustrating for your follow-up team. It's a frustrating thing to sit down at an inbox ready to minister to people, ready to engage in meaningful conversations, and spend half your time just filtering spam messages. Things like phishing links, requests for money, porn. I mean, there's all kinds of garbage that kind of comes in through these campaigns. If you can filter all of that out, you're doing two things. You're maximizing people's time, like I've already mentioned a few times, but you're also removing a really big pain point from your follow-up team. So this helps us guard against things like burnout, frustration, questions about, is what I'm doing actually valuable? Am I having any impact? Because I think most people get involved in this to really have a meaningful impact in people's lives, not to filter out spam messages. So what I'm super encouraged about with this move towards AI agents is that we can take an agent and really outsource some of those administrative types of tasks to an agent and hopefully greatly improve the experience for both our follow-up teams and for the people that we're reaching through some of these digital ministry campaigns. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you are encouraged to go test out some of these tools, try them out for yourself. And we would love to hear what you're finding, what you're seeing. I mentioned briefly, I didn't think that this type of inbox use case was possible. I may have stumbled on a loophole here because when I read terms and conditions, it pretty clearly says like operator, OpenAI's operator will not engage in this way with people. Maybe that's why it's asking me to watch the screen live. There were a couple of times where I clicked out of the window to go kind of do some research. I was Googling some other things on the side, like while I was doing this, and it would just pause, so it's still a pretty clunky process, but I mean, for my time, that's an 8-minute video. In 8 minutes, it went through the entire inbox and filtered out all the spam messages. So if I have to sit there and watch it for 8 minutes, even once a day, that's a great use of my time to watch this agent do all the filtering. And then my team is set up and ready to respond to what's left, which are the meaningful messages from people that have real questions that want to engage with our ministry. And so I hope this has been informative. Again, I'd love to hear your experience. There's a lot of different people exploring a lot of different aspects of AI right now. And one of the best ways that I've found to learn is to share experiences and examples like this with others. So even pop open a screen recording tool, take a video of what you're doing, share it with us directly. Either you can email us at info@mii.global, or you can post something in YouTube or in Spotify in the comments. We'd be happy to hear what you're learning. Let's charge forward. Let's see where these tools take us. And if we can think about how to apply them to do some of the cleanup to help our teams perform more effectively, I think that is an excellent use of AI tools in the year to come.